Hey everyone, happy Friday. This is Cynthia. I'm so glad to be with you here today, doing something a little bit different from my regular plan with me's. Today I'm going to be filming a get to know me video. So earlier, maybe last weekend, I did a little question poll sort of thing on Instagram, and I asked folks to send me some questions of things that they would like to know about me, and I'm happy to share those with all of you today. But I would like this to be a little bit more interactive, so as I go through the questions, if there's any particular question you feel comfortable answering, I would love for you to drop it in the comments so I can get to know more about you as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and grab my phone, get my list of questions, and we'll get into it. Okay, so let's go ahead and start getting into the questions. So the first question I have is from my friend Jose Luis. He is asking what my favorite dessert is, and I am actually not a big sweets person. I definitely like salty, savory foods more than I like sweets, but of course I do like them, don't have any distaste for them. And if I had to choose a favorite dessert, I would probably say creme brulee is my absolute favorite, but I also really like Napoleon. I love Napoleon cakes. I have since I was a kid. They're really popular up north in New York City especially. That's where I'm from. That's where I grew up. So I really love Napoleon cake as well. And of course, I love chocolate just like everybody else. So when I have those chocolate cravings, I will definitely enjoy a piece of chocolate. Next question is from Maria Christina, and she is asking, do you have any planner deal breakers or pet peeves? I don't really have any planner deal breakers. I've been in a couple of different types of planners before, so I don't really know that there's a specific thing about any sort of planner that would be a deal breaker for me. I feel like I'm pretty open to trying most things. A pet peeve I have though in general, and this really isn't about planners specifically, it's more of the planner community. I hate when other people tell others like how to use their planner, like, oh, if you bullet journal, this is how you're supposed to bullet journal, or if you use this kind of planner, this is how you should be using your planner. And I'm not a person who likes telling other people what to do in their lives in the first place. I feel like as long as people are minding the business that, it matters to them, not harming other people, and being true to themselves, live your life. Plan however it is that you want to plan. I got a question from Sandra here, and this is going to require a little bit of backstory, but her question is, would you ever consider reopening your sticker shop? So back in 2014, 2015, when I joined the planner community, I think it was probably 2015, I launched an Etsy shop and I had stickers. It was called Lucy Lux Stationery Co. And I had it for about a year, and then I decided to close shop. That would have been toward the end of 2016. I just had a very different life in 2014, 2015 than I did in 2016. I had gotten promoted by the end of that year, which meant more job responsibility at work, so I came home very tired and not really motivated to do orders. And I was always a small shop. I, had enough orders to keep me busy, but never quite as many as to make it a good source of income, and with a full-time job, I couldn't dedicate more time to it. So I decided to close up shop. Occasionally, the thought crosses my mind of, man, it'd be fun to make stickers again, or man, I wish I could put my creativity into a planner business of somehow. But right now where we live is also a completely different house. It's at least half of the size of the house that we lived in previously. So before I had my own office, I had space for inventory, machines, all kinds of stuff, materials for packing, and now I just have my little corner over here, and that's literally the only space that I have for my things, my planner things, I should say. So it's just not really realistic right now to create any sort of physical products. That's not to say that I would not consider digital products. The thought has crossed my mind, but again, it's just the time and what I want to put my time into. Right now I'm putting time into YouTube, and I've been having fun doing that, and I like it. So I'll never say never. I've made that mistake more than once in my life before, being like, I'll never do that thing, and then God has a sense of humor and it happens. So I'll never say never, but just definitely not anytime soon. Next question is from Elena. She said, can you explain what the planner world is all about and how you got into it? So the planner world is basically a collection of different people from different ethnic backgrounds, genders, races, all sorts of things, all kinds of ages in their life. Some are, young teens, some are new parents, some are young professionals, some are grandparents, some are just any type of person I feel like you can imagine is probably in the planner community. And it's just an online community of those of us who like to decorate our planners, that like to follow other people for inspiration on how to stay motivated to achieve goals, to manage your time more effectively, to be more productive. Just basically, we're all looking to better ourselves, I feel like, in the planner community. I kind of mentioned this in a video that I did with Plan with Laura for National Planner Day. I feel like all of us want to be better people, and our planner is that tool to help us write stuff down, stay accountable, set intentions, and kind of check back in with ourselves to stay grounded on a regular basis about what our values are, what our goals are, all that sort of stuff. So in a very broad sense, that's what the planner community is. And basically how I got into it is in 2014. I had my son in October 2014, and I was very overwhelmed. I definitely had postpartum and everything like that, dealing with it. He was very colicky. He had acid reflux. Like, there was just so much at the beginning, and we got pregnant unplanned. Like, we weren't planning on having a kid anytime soon, possibly if ever. And so we got pregnant with my son, and so it was a very hard transition for me. I was pretty young, still so green in so many areas of my life, and I'm not, some sage wealth of wisdom now or anything like that, but you're talking 7 years later, and after having, or 7 years? 6 years. 6 years later, I'm 29 right now, of having my son. Obviously, life is a lot different right now. So I needed a way to keep myself on schedule with his feedings, with his gas drops, with trying to remember all the different things that come along with being a new parent. And I was struggling. For some folks, they have what they call mommy brain, and it's really hard for them to remember and keep things straight in their head, because I think there actually are scientific reasons behind it. I haven't done enough research, but I definitely struggle with that mommy brain of not being able to remember a whole lot. So a friend of mine had an Erin Condren planner. She recommended to me that I might be interested in it, and she also thought with my creative talent that I could get into stickers and maybe even start a shop and everything like that. And so I bought my first Erin Condren planner in early 2015, and I have not looked back on the planner community since. It's been there for me during some times that have been difficult, just even on the level of community. People have spent their hard-earned dollars with me, with planner events that I've helped put on, and then also when I had my Etsy shop and everything. So this community has given me a lot. It's given me friendships that I wouldn't have otherwise, and that's why I have such a special place in my heart for planners and the people in the community. Amani Michelle is asking, how did you start planning? Kind of just answered that right now. And how did I choose my career? So I didn't really choose my career. I kind of just fell into it, to be completely honest. I was an English Lit major at the University of Central Florida, and I was looking for internships, and the library was looking for interns in their community relations department to help with copy editing and copywriting. So I applied, I got the position, and I worked as an unpaid intern for several months before I finally got a part-time job at the library. I was working part-time retail at the time, and I absolutely hated my job. So I wanted something that had better hours, that was better pay for what in theory was a better job. So I worked part-time for a couple months at the library, and then a position came open in the community relations department right as I was going to get ready to graduate, and thankfully they took a chance on me, even though technically I didn't have my bachelor's yet. I was still a semester away from finishing. Thankfully, I was able to prove during that internship, not even realizing a year later the job would be a possibility for me. But I applied, I got the position, and I've been working, it's now called marketing and public relations, but marketing and public relations for the library ever since. So my writing background is kind of what brought me into marketing, but over the years, especially as social media has grown and evolved, I've kind of been always interested in it and grown along with it. So now what I exclusively do, more of what I did before was copywriting and copy editing. More of what I do now is social media marketing. But to be clear, copywriting and copy editing are essential skills to be a good social media marketer. There's nothing worse than having a caption with all sorts of grammatical errors and misinformation. If this will be my long-term full career, I've definitely had thoughts about, like, if my husband and I find ourselves in a position where I can afford to not work and maybe just do freelance, done virtual assistant freelance for folks, keeping them organized, helping them with social media content, just going through their websites and helping them with that, doing logos for friends and small size businesses. Maybe that'll be where life takes me in the future. I'm not sure, but I'm going to keep my options open. Crystal is asking, what do you do as a form of self-care? This is, I have a lot of ways that I do self-care. One of them, which I haven't really been able to do much lately since we've been quarantined, is I see a therapist. So I go, or I was going probably like once every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks to my therapist and having those regular check-ins, kind of challenging the beliefs that I've got in my head and unpacking and unlearning a lot of the harmful, toxic things that I observed in childhood or some of the traumas that we went through as kids and everything. So that's definitely, I feel like, the most important form of self-care that I've done in the last year. Like I said, with the quarantine, it's been more difficult, and I was starting to feel a little bit of disconnect from my therapist, so that's part of why I haven't gone back to her. I kind of want to find someone new that I'm connecting with a little bit more, but to be completely honest, that's one of the most critical forms of self-care I feel like I've been able to do for myself. I have the privilege of having health insurance that pays for it. And then another form of self-care that I do is just journaling. So if I can't be with my therapist, or if I can't talk to somebody about something, journaling, doing some self-reflection, and just kind of getting all of my feelings out. Again, I went to college for English Lit, so I've always been a writer since I was a kid. That's definitely a way that I kind of just work through what I'm thinking, working through whatever I'm feeling, whatever has happened to me recently, all of that kind of stuff. And then I also do feel like that kind of ties into planning, and planning in itself is a form of self-care. Planning is that time where I unplug from my phone. I kind of just leave my husband and my son to themselves, and I kind of sit alone here in the room, maybe put some music or a fun show that I like in the background to listen to, and I just get very intentional and sit down and think about what matters to me, what I want to accomplish in the coming week, what I probably spent too much time on that I shouldn't have, and all that sort of stuff. So that is yet another form of self-care for me. That's just a few of them. I've mentioned this before. There are physical forms of self-care, especially working from home. It can be so easy to not dry my hair, just like wash it and leave it, and it's kind of frizzy and unstyled, or not putting on makeup and everything like that. And those things are not things that I would want to do every single day. Even when I was working in an office, I didn't always do those things every single day. Sometimes when you're kind of in a funk, doing those things outward physically can kind of bring your mood up a little bit. And I definitely at times have needed to be like, all right, I'm gonna take a shower, gonna wash my hair, gonna like dry it, make it look all shiny and fresh again, have some life to it, put some makeup on, and put like not just leggings and a t-shirt, put capri pants or something and a nice shirt or whatever, and that kind of sometimes can lift your spirits as well. Chrissy is asking, how do you feel about the mean girl culture that lives in the planning community? Chrissy is asking, how do you feel about the mean girl culture that lives in the planning community? I feel like this is true of basically every space in life, and it's unfortunate that it also exists in the planning community. I definitely think when you first start, especially if you join bigger Facebook groups where that's more the norm, it can kind of affect you and you can get pulled into it really easily. So if someone was new to the community, I would definitely encourage them to look for smaller, more localized groups where people, because they know each other in person, so you can't be a keyboard warrior kind of thing, tend to be a lot nicer and a lot more friendly. I encourage you to do that. I would also encourage you to make friendship with the people who interact with your content. So if you're a YouTube content creator or Instagram and people are replying to your Instagram stories or commenting on your posts, build friendships with those people, reach out to them and like their content, respond to their content. If you haven't talked to them in a while, react to one of their stories and follow up with like, hey, how are you doing? That's something that I know I'm not perfect at. I probably need to check in with people more than I do, but I try my best to check on all the people who I know are looking at my stuff and checking for me. There are definitely people that I wouldn't even say are like my close friends that I've spent a lot of time with or spent a lot of one-on-one time with, but that people that follow me close enough that if I were not to be around for whatever reason would probably notice and be concerned about me, and those are the people that I kind of choose to spend more time focusing on. I wish it just didn't exist in general. I'm definitely one of those. I would like everybody to just be not a jerk. Just don't be a jerk, please. Like, we really don't need all of that, especially since I work in social media. I see it so often. People jump to conclusions. People say things a lot more boldly than they would probably say in person, and that's not me. Don't want it. My friend Millie is asking, she asked a couple of questions, so we're gonna get 3 questions from Millie. The great pizza debate, pineapple on pizza or no? I've never had pineapple on pizza, so I don't know. I think I would give it a try, although I do have to say the idea of a fruit with and I know tomatoes are considered a fruit, but I think it's also considered a vegetable. I think it's one of those that is both. I don't know. The idea that pineapple would be touching tomato sauce does give me pause. Like, I don't know if I would like that very much. Or like cheese and a pineapple. I don't know if people put cheese on pizzas that have pineapple. But long story short, I've never tried it, so I honestly just don't know how I would feel about that. Next question, are there goals that you set prior to 2019 ending that you have already achieved? This is a great question. I set a goal for myself in my power sheets at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020, that I wanted to spend more time with my husband and son. And I'm spending a lot of time with my husband and son. So for that one, it wasn't like there was a very specific milestone I could say, like, oh, this is how I know I've met that quota and that's it. Like, I don't have to worry about it for the rest of the year, or that it's something that, like, once you do it, it just exists forever. That's a goal that I have to constantly be working at, to be spending more time with them. And originally it started with, like, maybe there's an outing my son and I can do every single weekend together, just the two of us, or not every single weekend, every single month, one weekend a month, instead of just staying at home, which is my preferred way of spending the weekend because I can be a hermit sometimes. I decided, I would try to commit to one activity. And so we did something in January, and then I told myself in February what I wanted to do, but February ended up getting really busy at work, so I never got a chance to do anything with him in February. So I said, come March, I'm going to take him to this place. And then COVID happened, so we haven't, like, gone anywhere special or anything during this time that we have been quarantined. We just spend time at home, really, but it has given me a lot of time to spend with my husband and son, and sometimes I'm exhausted of it. I just want a break from the two of them, but I definitely feel like after this is all over and we reach our new normal, I am going to be grateful for all the times that we spent together and the memories. And when we go back to our new normal, I'm probably going to miss the fact that I got to spend as much time with the two of them as I did. So I feel like that goal, probably not many of the others. Some of the other ones require things that I needed access to be able to do some of these things in person. So there would definitely be either impossible or difficult to achieve before the end of the year. But that goal, I feel like I've already kind of met at this point, and I want to sustain it going forward. Is there anything you feel like COVID-19 has helped you understand about yourself? I think what COVID-19 has helped me understand about myself is how much I rely on my community to lift me up, to fulfill me, like keep my gas tank running, all that sort of stuff. I definitely need my community. So not being able to see my sisters as much as I normally did, or my mom, especially at the beginning of the quarantine when we were like very reluctant to spend time with each other, that was really hard for me, and it put me into a certain state of depression. And not being able to see my in-laws as much as I was used to has also, they're very reluctant to spend any time with us, so I don't often see them, and that's been hard for me too, because I love them and I want to spend time with them. And I went from seeing them 3 times a week when I would pick up my son from their house after school to, and wasn't a long visit, it would maybe be 5-10 minutes of talking to them, sometimes longer if I came inside, but to go from seeing people every couple of days in your life to like basically not seeing them at all has been a struggle for me. And I'm definitely struggling with not getting to see my coworkers in person all the time. I get to see them on video calls, but it's not the same. As much as I use it to kind of placate my feelings, it's definitely not the same. And I miss my blogging network. I miss my FPRA network of people that I go to events with. And it's funny because sometimes the introvert in me gets really anxious in those social situations because it's like too much extroverting. But I do miss it, and I do miss having those other people to see and to feel inspired by, to be challenged by, to be in community with. And I think that's probably most significantly what I've learned about myself in this time. Angelica asked my favorite and least favorite planner trends. My favorite planner trends, I don't really do trends, I guess, in general. Like, I'm not much of a trend person. I'll switch from planner to planner, and I will say that it's definitely influenced by trends, but like that's usually not the decision making factor. Like, I'll look at it, see someone is doing something cool with it, and think like, oh, that's actually something that maybe I could use in my arsenal. So like last year I used the Hobonichi at the beginning of the year, and that was definitely influenced by the trend of everybody getting Hobonichis, and I definitely fell down that rabbit hole a little bit. But like one thing people did with their Hobonichis is, like, as soon as Hobonichis became a thing, sticker kits galore for Hobonichis came out. And like, I never used sticker kits in my Hobonichi. I didn't like it. It didn't make sense to me because the pages are so thin as it is that it was just like thickening up a book that's meant to be small and thin. And I would decorate with washi and like occasionally an overlay sticker or like a little girl from a Happy Planner book or something like that, kind of like in the corner to decorate. But really I tried to keep it fairly functional, almost like a bullet journal in a Hobonichi. So I might embrace a trend, but I never really like do what everybody else is doing. I kind of figure out like for my aesthetic, for my taste, like how am I going to make this work with my style and my planning system and my needs. So I can't think of a recent trend that I have really loved. In general, I think when everybody gets on a trend, it can be obnoxious to me. So like when everybody was posting about Animal Crossing, it was annoying. Lately, everybody's posting about like wax or whatever. Like, fine, that's cool, it looks all very pretty and I'm sure it smells great, but like it's annoying that everybody is posting about it. So I think I can sometimes be like the anti-trend. Like I might embrace that thing later on when I'm ready to, but when everybody all of a sudden starts getting on the same thing at the same time, it can be kind of obnoxious. So that was a really long-winded answer to something that should have just been pretty simple, but sorry. Claudia asked me 3 questions, and these will be the last 3 questions for this video. What's your favorite ice cream? My favorite ice cream is chocolate chip cookie dough. Absolutely love it. Ben & Jerry's kind is my absolute favorite. Also, shout out to Ben & Jerry's, you should really support them. I also do like vanilla soft serve from a local place with like rainbow sprinkles on top. That reminds me of my childhood. When I lived in New York, we used to get Mr. Softy all the time, and it was like that awesome vanilla soft serve with rainbow sprinkles, and so I definitely have a place in my heart for that too. Claudia is also asking sweet tea or unsweetened. I actually don't like tea, sweetened or unsweetened, at all. I like iced tea, like lemon iced tea, but like sweet tea as it's known in the South, like I actually don't like at all. Unless if it's sweet tea and you put lemonade with it and turn it onto an Arnold Palmer, then I like it, but even then, like I wouldn't, if I were to go to a restaurant, I wouldn't choose that. Basically, when I go to a restaurant, I either get water. If I'm feeling like I want a soda, I'll ask for a Coke. And if they don't have a Coke, if they have Pepsi products, I just will get water. I will not drink Pepsi products. I don't like them. Sometimes, if I'm feeling like nostalgic about something, I'll get like a root beer. That also kind of reminds me of my childhood, but that's like once every year or something like that, where I might order that. And then wine is, of course, or Prosecco is the other thing that I would order. And then Claudia is asking about my favorite pens. So prior to me switching up my planner system, I was actually using Sharpie pens a lot, and let me grab one. So I was using these Sharpie pens, not the Sharpie markers, which most people know that look like this. This is what people think of when they think Sharpie pen, but it's actually a marker. I was using these for a very long time, but I've actually grown away from those, and now I'm really into the Pigment Micron, the PN. It's got the archival ink. This is just a black ink pen. It's a micro pigment ink for waterproof and fade-proof fine lines. I don't know why, I just like the way that this pen writes on the paper that I have here at my house for my inserts better than the other pens that I had been using prior to. So I've basically switched over to this, and I've been using this pretty consistently across the board on Post-its, on notepads, in my planner, all sorts of places. So this one's definitely my favorite right now, I would say. Okay, that is it for questions. Thank you to all of my friends on Instagram and followers who sent in questions. I appreciate them so much. At first, I was getting like no questions, and I was like, oh my god, this is embarrassing. No one wants to know anything about me. Maybe this video was a terrible idea. Again, playing on those insecurities that we get. But thank you to everybody who sent in questions. I hope my answers were not only illuminating for you, but that maybe they made you laugh or think or something like that. And I hope that you'll take my challenge and pick one of the questions, any one of the questions you feel like answering, in the comments below. I would really appreciate if you guys did that, because I spend a lot of time, this is a one-sided thing a lot of the times. I'm talking and I'm not getting any reaction back. It's not Instagram Live or something like that. So I would love to know a little bit more about you guys. If you want to pick more than one question, you're welcome to as well, but I'll at least say minimum one question, and that's it. So I will see you guys next week for a plan with me on Tuesday, and I think I might have another video coming out next Friday, so stay tuned for that as well. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you're new here, please consider subscribing.